Thanks for joining us today, my friends. I'm glad that you were able to do that. This is Tim, just enjoying another excellent cup of Joe this morning and ready to get the day started. Well, in our reading through the Bible, today our reading was in Jeremiah chapter 15 to 18. And, as you read through this book of Jeremiah, you're witnessing the death of a nation. Uh, he had the unfortunate task of predicting the ruin of his country because of their rebellion against God and their idolatry. But then he also had the unfortunate task of watching all of those predictions that he had made come to pass and grieving with people that were carried off to Babylon. For 40 years, he warned his people, and yet the rejection of the Lord just seemed to grow worse. In all honesty, in many ways, I think we're facing the parallel of this in the day we live in. We can see the moral and spiritual deterioration of our country and the painful results that follow. Well, in chapter 16, the Lord gives this prophet another difficult sign. It starts out with the fact that he was not allowed to marry. Chapter 16, verse 1 and 2 says, "The word of the Lord came also unto me, saying, Thou shalt not take thee a wife, and neither shalt thou have sons or daughters in this place." Uh, I wonder if maybe that prophet was interested in a lady at this point, and that's why the Lord specifically said that marriage is not for you, Jeremiah. It's not easy to be a prophet, is it? I mean, he was already feeling alone in his ministry, and people were not listening to him. His people in his hometown conspired against him, but now God is adding another restriction. He would not know the joys of a home or children or the companionship of a godly wife. But God has reasons for this requirement. He was actually sparing Jeremiah even greater sorrow. And that's what he explains in verses 3 and 4, where we read that, Thus saith the Lord concerning the sons and concerning the daughters that are born in this place, and concerning their mothers that bear them, and concerning their fathers that beget them in this land. They shall die of grievous deaths. They shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung on the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword and by famine. Their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of heaven and for the beasts of the earth. These are not happy times for people who had turned away from the Lord. But you notice twice the text mentions that people were living in this place. That refers both to the place where they were living in Jerusalem, but also their place in time. In this time and space, their years of unfaithfulness in Jerusalem were about to bear fruit in that place. And the prophet also said that those going into exile should marry and raise children and buy houses in Babylon because their exile would be long, 70 years as a matter of fact. And in that place, their attraction to pagan idols would be over and their exile would be long. It would be their grandchildren of those who would return to Jerusalem. But the time was short, it was difficult in that place where they are right now. And the truth was, it was to spare Jeremiah this additional grief. God forbade him to be married. It reminds you maybe a little bit of Paul's advice in 1 Corinthians 7:25 and 26. He said, Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment as one that hath obtained mercy of the Lord to be faithful. I suppose, therefore, that this is good for the present distress. I say that it is good for a man so to be. In other words, if you're not married, stay the way you are because of the present distress. There's persecution that the early Christians had to go through. And it meant that, yeah, the normal aspects of living needed to be set aside for a period of time. And that was true also for Jeremiah. He was also told not to show sympathy for survivors by mourning with them or join in celebrations or fun and games. And the reason is that he was to identify with God's point of view. Their sorrow was not over their sin, but their loss. And their feasting was not out of gratitude for God's goodness, but a denial of His justice. And we also should identify with God in our lives and the way we do things. Well, consider that today, my friends, as we look at the world we live in and its decline today. Well, keep reading. Tomorrow, our reading is in Jeremiah chapter 19 to 22. And be reading there. I'll look forward to being back with you again very soon. Have a great day, folks.